Good evening, guys. Good afternoon. Welcome back to another episode of Hightop Sports. Today, we're going to be discussing the Florida Gators versus the Arkansas Razorbacks. Obviously, we lost in overtime in a tough one yesterday, and it's been a civil war ever since. We had a call-in show yesterday. That was a good time listening to everybody. Look, most people that call in, though, they're always usually pretty civil about it. We had a great caller who called in. I actually clipped it up. It was such a fantastic take on it, which I'm going to kind of dive into and give him a lot of credit for because he was spot on with his takes. But then also, again, give you some good, some bad, some ugly. And I know some of you go, what do you mean the good, Sheldon? Well, look, I mean, there's always going to be some positive you can find anywhere, right? And I think it's important to do that. But I'm going to do my best to be as critical as possible, right? But be a healthy, nice little healthy debate here. I think it's important to settle down and try to figure out where the hell we're going. I know people are frustrated. Some people may not watch for the rest of the year. It is what it is. We're going to be here. So whether you would choose to tune in or not, we'll be rocking and rolling, having a good time as much as we possibly can to the end of the season. But then the only thing that really kind of rubbed me the wrong way was after the press conference. Billy usually keeps an even keel, but there's two questions that he got asked that I felt that he dropped the ball on. Felt like they weren't the best of answers. And I think he's trying to protect the team and be as even keel as possible. But ultimately, in the words of Billy, wasn't a great answer. And he's going to get roasted for it, and he has been already. He's kind of getting tore up from the flow up a little bit on Twitter. And look, this is the world of being a Florida Gator fan. So it is what it is. But let's get started with the good. And I know a lot of you going, oh, there's no way there's any good. Look, the good that we saw on the football field on this past Saturday was the youth. That is something that we've been beating the drum on. We're the youngest team in college football, at least in the Power 5. And Jordan Castell with an interception. Kelby Collins making big plays. Jack Pyburn, before he went down, was making some great plays. TJ Searcy stepped up. Scooby Williams was making some great stops. Now, they had their errors too, so let's not get it twisted. I understand that. Very young team. Right? Think about it. KJ Jefferson started running the football over us, in the back half of the football game. And some may say, well, we couldn't even tackle. Jordan Castell was getting wrapped up. You can have the guy in the right spot. You can teach this guy how to tackle all day, every single day. When you've got a freshman coming in against a grown man, 250 pounds, a mistake's bound to happen. And this is not me making excuses because I already hear the comment section. You're just making excuses. He's a 4-star athlete, man. The guy's going to go out there and do the best that he can. He at least slowed him down a little bit. But KJ Jefferson's like what Anthony Richardson was last year. Like, he ran over anybody in his way. And so those things are going to happen. But the fact that our youth got a ton of playing time, went through some hell of adversity, was absolutely massive. And another big takeaway, too, that some people may be overlooking, and I actually talked to Sorley about this because he was at the game, right? And he's a big pro. Let's keep this thing going. I'm going to stay locked in. Something that I've been beating the drum on, and he kind of reconfirmed this. He's like, dude, the team still bought in. Those guys were hyped up on the sideline all the way up until the end. And I saw a little bit of lacklusterness on the defensive side of the ball, I believe, at the end of overtime, right at that last little play. They kind of looked defeated, right? But I do believe this team does love one another. And he says, look, until they're not bought in on Billy, I'm going to be bought in because we saw the team quit on Dale Mullen, right? And I feel like we all kind of were like, all right, well, look, if the guys that are standing next to him don't believe in him, why should we believe in him? Right now, Billy has not had that issue. And I know some people say, well, I don't care if they like him. He could be a great guy. And we're going to get into that. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're focused on the positive. So let's keep it even keel here. Those are the pros, right? The team is bought in. There's a lot of youth. So there is some excitement that, look, if this team stays together, they come through adversity, a lot of great talent coming back on the football field. You've got a ton of experience. Again, Tyro, who called in, that was his thought, right? Let's rip these red shirts off of Aiden Mazel, throw these guys in. Let's get them as much playing time as possible so we roll into next season with these guys ready to rock and roll. How you want to play that's kind of up to you. But look, small, but a lot of good there. Trace Mack outside the misses, still a nice healthy game. Graham Mertz looked pretty damn good. Trevor Etienne looked fantastic for the most part. I mean, for all the part when he got the ball, he looked fantastic. Eugene Wilson even finding a bigger rhythm when you get him the football. So, look, small, but still some great things and some good things to be happy about. Now, the bad. Let's talk about the bad a little bit. And obviously, it gets ugly, of course. Tackling was atrocious. It was horrendous. We're going to get into the special teams. We got to put that probably as an ugly column, to say the least. But again, it just feels like the energy in the room. That's going to always be something that I'm going to harp on. It's just, I feel like that's something that it's not something that's taught, or it's not like it's a skill. It's not something you have to attribute or learn throughout the week. That's just, it's a feeling in your body. And when the entire team looks lethargic and feels lethargic, except Jack Pyburn and Tyreek Sapp and a few others, right? What are they doing to empower? Because Jack Pyburn, he's a 3-star coming out of high school, right? I think he's a little undersized, probably playing that position a little bit, but the guy plays with so much heart, you couldn't even tell. So those are some things that I feel like we've got to figure out how to tap into. Okay. And again, speaking kind of good and the bad, this team we've got going on here, if we know, if somebody came, if gave us a crystal ball and they go, hey, in the offseason, here's what's going to happen. Billy's going to stay. Austin Armstrong's going to rock another season underneath his belt. We're going to go get an offensive coordinator. Who that's going to be, that's what's scary too, right? Because we've seen what Billy's gone out and hired. It's kind of young, inexperienced guys trying to grow them. Love the mindset, but do we need that right now? So there's a little reason to be concerned if that were to be the case, if he were to go outside and hire an offensive coordinator. But let's just say he goes out and hires an offensive coordinator, a name that we're all ecstatic about, right? I think another year under Austin Armstrong that has a shell of a defense that's working with a very young team, especially today. I mean, that thing was as thin as they possibly come. And to the guys that are pumping or that are firing the fire about, we need to fire Billy or we need to fire so-and-so, okay? I do believe a fire needs to happen, and I'll get into that in just a moment. We have had 3 defensive coordinators for the last 3 years. We had Todd Grantham, PT, and now Armstrong. So are we going to just keep firing somebody until something figures out? Right? That's not gonna work. So this idea that we can just continue to fire coaches and burn through them, eventually these coaches aren't going to want to come here. Number one, but number two, if you don't allow these guys to get their claws in and established, right? That's the other issue. So I'm in no way, shape, or form ready to move on from the defensive coordinator and Austin Armstrong. He's young. When he first came on, I said, look, there's going to be some areas of concern. We're seeing those right now. But although they gave up 500 yards on defense, right? That's another bad, in my opinion. A lot of it came in the second half, and a lot of it was due to the fact I believe the offense was a little bit lackluster. This is another part of the bad, right, that continues to add to the Napier saga. Losing to Vanderbilt, right? Losing to all rivals last year. Losing to Arkansas for the first time ever at home. These are the things that are going to be hard to overcome for Billy Napier. These are what's going to be hard for someone like myself and the Billy Pumpers is what they're calling us. We're running out of words to say. There's not much I can really say because the proof's in the pudding at this point. I could say, hey, we got a great recruiting class. If the rest of if you got a chair and all the other legs but one leg works, guess how useless that chair is. It's not. It's how useful I should have said. It's useless, right? You got one leg, you're standing on recruiting, but the rest of them don't work. It's a nice chair, it's a nice leg, but it's not everything. So as much as I want to beat that drum and I want to be positive on that, look, I think the guys that are on the side of Billy's on the hot seat, they're not wrong for their thinking. And you have to start looking at that and be like, look, like there is some extremists on it, right? But I feel that if 80% of the fan base is on the verge of like, yo, Billy needs to go, they're not wrong in that thinking. Because what have you showed me to believe that you can turn this football around or that you're not in over your head in your coaching ability? Because the other bad was time management, right? And you can almost put it into ugly. And I've defended the time management up until this point, but going into that second half, and there's multiple times when we're down, it's 2.5, we're down 14-17. It's almost like we played for a field goal. That was a great opportunity for us to kind of get into a rhythm, to go down, punch them in the mouth. We walked on the football field. Zero sense of urgency. Now an offensive coordinator could come in and help that because not only will they be playing the calls, but you can either take that responsibility and put on the offensive coordinator to watch the time, or you're able to watch time because you're not calling plays and doing 10 other things at once. Things that we've been saying this entire time. Now, let's get into the ugly here a little bit. Special teams. Absolutely atrocious. And one of the questions that were asked, which was a phenomenal question, I don't believe he answered it very well at all. So we're going to talk about that. But special teams was a wreck. Punting was a wreck. We had a blocked field goal, mishandle on the extra point, which I hate to say one play always costs a game, but we hit that extra point. We're up a point. That field goal at the end by Arkansas means nothing. We win for 34-33. But you can't ever look at that. I understand that, but those are frustrating things when you're in a nail biting game, right? And you got to be perfect, and those are everyday things that you're messing up on. That's going to cost you the game, and it almost cost us. I mean, we had an opportunity to kick the field goal at the end of the game there, but another just atrocious performance on special teams, and it's a small part, but a big part of the game that can really toss momentum and just kind of deflate the room, like it did with the extra point. Like it did with us running onto the football field. We've had other, circumstances that have happened throughout this entire year that have just thrown off the complete momentum of the game. It's too many mistakes at this point where something has to be done. And that was where I was going to head to someone has to be fired. This is kind of, again, staying on that ugly train of I'm not here to call out somebody's job or say that I know what I'm talking about and that this so-and-so needs to be fired. But something's broken, okay? And we said this on the call-in show. We can all try to figure out what it is. We're going to say it's recruiting. We're going to say he's in over his head. We're going to say the coaching staff's it's a multitude of things, right? All I know is something has to change, and somebody's job's going to have to get adjusted. Someone's got to go. To show us, the fans, that, hey, we're making adjustments. You can't just keep telling out, like, hey, we're going to go watch the film. You can watch it for the next 3 years in a row. This shit's not going to change, all right? We're messing up on basic-ass shit in the Power 5 conference and SEC play. We're not going to just sit back and go, we're going to take that as, okay, we're going to go watch the film. Right, this isn't Arkansas. This isn't Mississippi State. This is Florida Gators. And look, to be fair, the fans that are upset, we expect the best, and we're not getting anywhere close to that right now. Which we're 10-2 against Arkansas. Never lost Arkansas at home. 2-6 can happen. The other ugly, first-time offensive coordinator calling a game. That's not a good look, right? We can give all of our guys excuses in the world, lack of talent, a new defensive coordinator, a young defensive coordinator. This guy was fresh off the couch, coming in, called the wife, said, we made it. We got an opportunity. We were talking about a pregame. And gets it done on a 2-6 team when you get your coach on the backs against the wall. I said it on Wednesday. Didn't feel good about it. The reason I didn't feel good about it is exactly what we saw. You got a starving team that's looking to fight, and they were fighting harder than anybody. And I think, the consensus, a lot of for Gator fans, some people aren't going to like this, but Arkansas wasn't a horrible 2-6 football team. Again, not making excuses. Billy kept saying it. I wanted to run my head through a wall. Like, I don't think we're walking in thinking we need to beat Arkansas because, some people say they're 2-6 and they're shit. Yes, they're a good football team. Yes, they're a good SEC team. But what are we? We believe we're a great football team, Billy. We want to be a great football team. We should beat a better football team. So I'm tired of hearing about it. But look, I think a lot of those things, those are ugly things that are hard to overcome. And that's where I believe the voice of the negative side of this civil war is going to be much, much louder for the next few weeks. And I believe they have every right to do so because things have not looked promising, right? These are basic day stuff. When you're losing to a first-time offensive coordinator to a 2-6 football team that didn't really do anything special. Wasn't like they were throwing any trick plays. They honestly looked like another version of us, right? Kind of mirrored us from last year. Nothing spectacular. Just kept it in front of them. Didn't make too many mistakes, thankfully. And we weren't really putting them in any places to make any mistakes. And then, when we make the right plays, all of a sudden they got a quarterback that could run you over. It was over. Couldn't stop them anymore. So, look, all in all, we're going to lose some fans over the next few weeks. People are going to be done watching, and I understand that. It's going to be a tough road. Mizzou looked good against Georgia. LSU looked good against Alabama, as good as you can against Alabama, and as good as you can against Georgia. There's going to be some two hella battles headed into LSU and headed into Mizzou, and then, of course, Florida State, which I said it from the beginning of the year. Said it last week. I said I felt better about FSU than I do this game, and I still do. Still do going into that game. I do, though, want to talk about his press conference here before we go, boys and girls. And this one's tough. This one's like even harder to defend, right? It's kind of, we're going on the slippery slope here of the boys here. And he was asked about the legal substitution. What happened? Here's what he had to say.
End of regulation with the illegal substitution. What happened there from what you saw?
Yeah, I think ultimately, we have a scenario where we would run the field goal team on the field. That's what you're talking about, right? And, a player felt like he heard that specific word, that scenario. We have a player that's in charge of that. And he did it, right? And ultimately, the players around him followed him, right? So, I'll get to the bottom of it, but ultimately, just having talked to that player, I think he thought he heard it, and he did his job, right? So there's no question that there was some confusion there, and we're fortunate, right?
It's refreshing, I guess, in a way that he's just not going to say, we're going to watch the film and figure out what happened. He blamed somebody. To blame the player, again, if he heard it, then it tells me the coach said it. But you've got 15,000 coaches on staff, and you've got a player that's in charge of a moment like that. And now if they do it every single day, obviously, and their job is to kind of lead the special teams onto the football field. But if that's the kind of the normality that the players leading these guys off the field, maybe that's what's going on here. Where we got 15 guys running onto the football field. What's Coach Couch doing? Right? That's literally his title. I don't know. In a moment like that, and I get you want your guys to have accountability, but to sit here and say, "Oh, he thought he heard something," I mean, what's the word? What's the safe word? Pineapple, right? Like how is this word mistakenly possibly being said? For the team to run onto the field, I'm assuming they yell pineapple, which means okay, the kicking staff runs onto the football field, and you're automatic exchange, right? But if you're watching the game, I'm yelling, spike the ball, get a first down, spike the ball, get a first down, spike the ball. I'm not on the sideline, right? I don't have the experience these guys do. If I'm watching the game, if I'm involved with the game from the sideline, I know he has to go spike the ball. There's 7 seconds on the clock. Here's what's going on. If I'm Coach Couch, I'm all right, boys. He's going to get down there and spike the ball as soon as he spikes it, which tells me we have 40 seconds to get out there. This isn't going to be a quick transaction, right? There's no possible way this is going to happen. Now, if for any reason, we dropped the ball backwards. I don't know, whatever. You need two different words then if that's the case. But if there's a word that he thought he heard something that caused him to move, then you got to change. You got to find a new word, or that was a poor excuse, and it's not on the player. It's on the coach. But you know how the fan base feels about the coach already, so you're defending the coach. That's my assumption. That's my guess. Don't know how true that is, but that's how I feel. That's how I feel it actually went. Not a fan of the response. He's gonna get roasted for it, and this next one is gonna be even worse, to be honest with you. And I went back when I was watching him putting this together. Kind of contradicts himself a little bit. Because he's fully aware of what happened. This was a blunder on special teams. We can all agree, right? Nick Del Toro asked him about the blunder on special teams, and Billy basically goes, "What do you mean?" So he's being very defensive, and I get it. You just lost, you're frustrated. But look, sometimes a little honesty and just straight to the chest is sometimes refreshing and needed. Listen to this question, then we'll go from there.
Billy, the special teams unit has pretty much consistently had issues, whether it's been procedural or otherwise. What can you do this late in the season to help them or fix that? And at the end of the season, do you have to look at changing the operation completely there?
Well, specifically, what are you talking about?
Today there was 10 guys for a field goal block, the bad snap, and then the procedural penalty running the guys on. Then they've had issues pretty much the whole season.
I think that, we had a few young people today that had opportunities. That's what I would say, We also had some great punt returns today. We had some great kickoff returns today. We covered kicks and punts well today. I think it's important here, and one of the things that I respect about our team, there's a lot of blame to be spread out, and in this game in particular, I think we're going to look back at all parts of our team. Every single thing that we do gets evaluated, right? When we make mistakes that have nothing to do with the opponent, those are the things that we specifically try to correct, right? So there's no question what you're talking about is part of our process. And ultimately, it comes down to doing the best you can do for the players.
So see how I can say it's a little counterintuitive, because he asked the question like, what are you referring to? I have this weird feeling that this could be that one of those Dan Mullen clips, right? Hey, like we're recruiting. We'll talk about the recruiting season. Hey, what's your thoughts on the issues on special teams? What are you referring to? Oh, I don't know. Sending 10 guys out in the football field, a fumbled snap, the blunder at the end of the game there. Were you not watching the same game I was, Coach? Right? It wasn't a good response, and I get trying to be defensive, but sometimes, the perfect response to that goes, yeah, we've got some issues we got to fix. Those are unexcusable. To blame that on youth, I'm all about blaming things on youth. All in on that. If you got guys that are unaware of, hey, you're about to go on the football field, your job is special teams, because A lot of special team guys, like, that's all they do. That's their focus. And there's a coach called the game-changing coordinator that is over these group of guys. You mean to tell me that he doesn't, when you see they go score, hey, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wait, we need one more. Hey, where's so-and-so? Right? And you don't practice that rotation in practice of, hey, this is like, if I'm just sitting around, right, and the code word is pineapple, I'm going to just, out of random practice, boom, pineapple. And I need my 11 guys to be attentive in front of me. You know what I mean? Like, that's just small stuff. If I can think that shit off the top of my dome here, right, how to improve that, to get people ready, to get them in the mindset, you're going to put that on youth? So was he playing his Game Boy on the sideline? He's not paying attention to the game? I mean, if you're on special teams, a lot of these guys, again, all they do is kick return, punt returns, and field goal unit. You're in there for hand selective games. And you know that your job is to be perfect in those parts of the game so you can continue to grow. So, again, this goes back to coaching. This isn't on youth. This is where a lot of the criticism comes back to, where, like, where are these guys being held accountable? Right? Because it's week in and week out. We're week 10 in, right? And this is continue to happen. That's where we're starting to get frustrated as fans. This is where the patience is starting to run out here, because we're seeing the same dumb mistakes over and over and over again when we continue to blame it on youth, right? My son's, he's turning 1 today, okay? He knows now, don't touch this shit, all right? 3 pops, and he knows, hey, don't do that. Don't do that. Take him maybe a little bit harder than a 5-star athlete would, but he gets it, right? So if he can get it, I would think that I would go have a conversation with him, like, hey, you continue. If it's the same person, here's the other thing. I don't know if it's the same person that's missing it, but if you've got 10 guys or too many guys, and it's a multitude of guys that are making the wrong error, again, it goes back to coaching. It's not the same kid making the mistake. It's just the group making the mistakes. See where we're going here? Well, I think we're all agree. I think that's one thing that Gator Nation can agree on. I think this is what brings all of us together, is the fact that the special teams has been a complete blunder. And again, some things are going to have to change in this offseason. You're going to have to make a move, Billy. You're going to have to let one of your guys go, shoot a hostage, couple hostages, and go out and get some more experienced coaches on that sideline. I talked about that against Georgia. I still believe it. Not going to make me not believe it, to be honest with you. But look, like I said, we got 3 weeks left. I think the biggest thing is to try to at least appreciate it. We wait all year for this, and then we beat ourselves to death during the season. And sometimes I forget to appreciate that we get college football on Saturday. So I'm going to try to just appreciate what I can as much as I can. Like, losing sucks more than anybody. I love you guys. Go Gators, in all kinds of weather. It's just kind of how it is, boys and girls. We'll keep grinding away at it. We'll keep staying focused. You guys be good. Like, subscribe. We'll see you guys later on tonight for our Sunday show. Then tomorrow with Stephen Harris. Can't wait to hear what he has to say, boys and girls. That should be a good one. You guys be good. Love you.